أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Is everybody back? Shall we start? You can give me some signs. Okay, let's start. So I just want to go through those 10 phrases one by one. If you would like to join me with that, inshallah, it's going to be beneficial for all. So, Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyu al-qayyum. So I believe the splitting would be Allahu la ilaha illahu. So Allah is the one other than whom there is no ilah. In a sense, there's this notion of huwa in me, and then this verse is describing Allah is the one other than whom there is no creator. So the huwa, the he that you know of, that you say there must be a he, and that he is a one other than whom there is no ilah, and Allah is the proper name as is being described here. Al-Hayyu Al-Qayyum, the living, the everlasting. So if anybody wants to make any comments about these parts, I will be very happy to hear. And while waiting for your comments, I will make some comments on that, but please join me on that. So Al-Hayyu Al-Qayyum, so the ever-living and the everlasting. So as the author was pointing to, these are steps of Tawheed, unity of the Creator. But how do I arrive to those conclusions as we have been studying for so long? It's again, all those conclusions, we arrive to them by looking at the creation. So Al-Hayyu Al-Qayyum are, again, two very beautiful names of the Creator. But as I see life constantly being given in the creation, I would say the giver of life himself must be alive, but alive, not that I'm describing his life form, quote unquote, but he's not dead. God is not dead, as for instance, some philosophers said in the recent history, due to what was happening in the Europe, actually, the concept of God being dead or killing the creator, sort of an idea. No, the creator is Al-Hayy, because I am observing that he is acting in the creation constantly. He is the one that keeps giving life to living beings. So that source of life must be alive, as I am knowing of the concept of life, but not defining his quote unquote form of life. And then Al-Qayyum, I am observing that things are being, so when I think about Al-Qayyum, the example that is most pleasant to me, although might be a bit technical, is the computer screen. Because when I was first thinking about this some time ago, I thought that this image in the computer screen, I feel like it is an image in there. Like I am looking at, let's say, my daughter's picture in the computer. And in fact, that image was being drawn, if the refresh rate of my screen is 70 times, let's say, that was being refreshed or redrawn 70 times. And the qayyum of, or the thing that makes the image stand in there, to me, in this example, is electricity. If I unplug the computer from electricity, the image disappears. So image was not really a static image in there. It was not existing by itself. The word qiyam in here is like standing up, as in the salat, when we stand up, it's called qiyam. So self-standing up, in a sense, self-subsistent, is what al-qayyum means. So the image in the computer screen was not standing up by itself, was not existing by itself. So applying standing up to the concept of existence, its existence was not its own, because when I unplug it, the whole image disappeared. So the thing that made it stand to me in my screen was electricity. Now I look at the existence, a universe, I see that things are constantly changing, and they themselves are not able to or capable of standing up by themselves in the existence. Like their existential standing do not belong to them. So I ask the question, who keeps them standing up in existence? Who keeps them straight in existence? So there must be someone who is, relative to my example now, the electricity of this existence, who is the one that constantly keeps giving electricity or keeps giving existence to the things. So he is Al-Qayyum. There must be Al-Qayyum, or the one who is Huwa, the one who is Allah, must also be Al-Qayyum. And by observing the existence, I confirm that. So, and this is again another aspect of Tawheed. By looking at the creation, I would say, yes, Allah is also Al-Qayyum. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. By the way, let me pause here. Any comments so far, please? Maybe about Al-Hayy or Al-Qayyum. Aisha, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. This is very helpful. I mean, I was initially going to wait till later in later part of this verse, because I had a question about the last part where it says hifduhuma, and some have translated this as upholding, others translated as preservation, protection, to guard, right? But when you made that last comment, I guess I'm a little interested in the distinction between this sense of upholding versus the concept of constant creation that we talk about, because there's a sort of fine distinction between the two, and especially if, you know, in terms of history of ideas, there's a specific distinct view of things being conserved as versus being created anew continuously. And so I guess this question, I didn't want to jump ahead too much, but how to understand this notion of, in this translation, of preservation, right? What does that mean exactly? What does it mean for God to uphold things, and what are the implications of that? I just wanted to put that out there, just something on my mind.
Jazakallah khair. Very good question. And anyone wants to give an answer while waiting for people to raise hands? I think this is from our, again, endpoint, how we look at things. So since this is continuous creation, the topic is that, I'm thinking of, I mean, still I guess we can continue with the computer screen and the image in there, but let's take it more like a drawing of a cartoon. So if you are seeing like Bugs Bunny moving, so you can say that, yes, in every frame, a new Bugs Bunny is drawn, but still the Bugs Bunny-ness was preserved or kept constant across those frames. So from one perspective, you see a continuity, a preservation from a certain perspective. And from another perspective, you see that it's a constant change. So both are happening at the same time, I would say. Because I mean, if you would like to split it further, you can say that, well, but the Bugs Bunny when he is holding a glass versus Bugs Bunny when he is holding a hammer is actually slightly different Bugs Bunnies. Like before, I didn't know that Bugs Bunny can hold a hammer, but now I know. So this also has changed, one might say. But you would still say that Bugs Bunny is a rabbit in both. So things are being preserved in this existence. And I know it by myself, like me yesterday, me today, there are many things that are being preserved. But I also know that me yesterday and me today has many different things as well. And none of those moments from yesterday to today was existing by themselves. Every moment I was given an existence anew, afresh, at least at the level of my material existence for sure. But also I sense the same with my feelings, like my mood, for instance. So I do observe things that are being kept similar or same, however I would like to call it, from yesterday to today. So in this case, I would say, who is the one that keeps me as I am? Like, I'm not going to the bed as Yusuf and waking up as, I don't know, Birkan. So at least my face is being preserved, for instance. So in this regard, the preservation is being, I can take it as such from a certain angle. But then I can say, in each of those moments, since I am not the one that upholds its existence in all its aspects, material, immaterial, then I am also being given a new creation at every moment. So this is why I would say it's not either or, it's both of them happening at the same time. Any comments on that, please? Okay, there's a comment from Strashenor. She says, one way of putting it then might be that the form of an existent thing is being preserved or upheld while simultaneously the existence of it is being given constant creation anew. Yes, I think it's the a single thing, but from whichever perspective you look at, within the same action, you see preservation and you see a fresh creation, I think. And there's also the point that from my point of view, all I really do see is the seamless continuation, which can be understood as upholding. All I really see is the seamless continuation, which can be understood as upholding. Yes, I mean, if I understood you correctly, I also agree with that. Would you like to voice it up, or if the emphasis was not enough, well, please go ahead.
No, I would have vocalized it. I just didn't want to interrupt you while the thought came, so I typed it. No, that makes sense to me. In that there is, I don't know if form is the right terminology for it, but there is a sense of just continuation that I see, that in that, my reality doesn't seem to be getting interrupted, right? That gives it that sense, at least, of preservation. And perhaps, while I can logically conclude upon the constant creation aspect of it, my experience, at least, is more that of things being upheld almost. Yeah, I this is helpful. I think I have to also think about it a bit more. Thank you.
And actually, this very question that you asked was such an exciting question for me when I was studying Nursi's 23rd Flash, where he's talking about this nature. So at the very end of this text, there is a question like that. So they say, well, nothing comes into existence out of nothing, and something that exists doesn't go to non-existence. This is a scientific fact. So how do you talk about a creation, is the question. Then the author replies saying, no, both are happening constantly. Like both creation from nothing and things that exist being sent to non-existence. This keeps happening constantly. And he gives a cryptic answer to that question. I don't know how well it is reflected in the English, but in there actually he is, I mean, the way I finally properly read his writings, actually he's saying that he both creates from, like as you were saying, continuation or from nothingness. He uses the word ibda and insha. Ibda meaning creating out of nothing, insha being as if building on top of something or reusing things. It might sound contradictory. What do you mean? Like create both happening at the same time? Like is he, since we are thinking most of the time very materialistically, is he creating material yet he is reusing material? What do you mean? Like particles, like protons, are they being created anew every moment? Or a proton which was created in the Big Bang is being kept reused over the centuries or billions of years and whatever? But if you think about it the way that we have been discussing so far, from one perspective, take now your proton to be the Bugs Bunny. So I see that things are being preserved in one sense, because proton keeps behaving like proton, or carbon, or like proton named Ali behaves like proton named Ali for whatever I would consider as the lifetime of that proton. But yet I also observe that that proton does not exist by itself. So it must be given an existence constantly also. So it might sound initially like a contradiction, but when I apply it to myself, I see that, yeah, I am Yusuf, I am being preserved, yet I also observe that Yusuf is in constant change. So this is why hifz in here can be taken as both, as you suggested, upholding, keeping in existence, as if something that was created once and now being kept, preserved in existence, as if it is being rebuilt, reused. But from another perspective, if you think about Al-Qayyum as, but to exist in this existence constantly, where the only constant thing is change itself, it is being redrawn in a sense, or recreated, so constant creation. So I don't know, this is a topic that really excites me, and among all the divine names, Al-Qayyum is such a name that fascinates me more than any other. And I guess this is the reason, because it's constantly observable. It's so near to you that you know that you do not stand or uphold in this existence. You are being kept uphold in all senses that you can think of. So it's so strong of a message or a meaning. Okay.
One other thing that I just want to throw out here, and you know, this might be for some other time maybe, but I'm also thinking about just because there's some translate, and this isn't to like get stuck on one word. I don't mean to do that, but I'm just a little interested in it. Like there's also some translations that look at translate hifdhuhuma as protection, right? As you know, the throne of his majesty covers the heavens and the earth, and protecting them does not tire him, or guarding them. And that just makes me wonder in what other sense the verse can be understood, because protection or guarding also implies something to be protected from or guarded from, though it can be in a sort of broad sense, not necessarily like a object or subject. But I'm just also wondering, I mean, maybe perhaps protection from association. I'm not sure. It's just interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, this is a beautiful point. So what are they being protected from? So protection, what comes to my mind, just I'm going to, while nobody is speaking. So protection from going into non-existence might be one thing, because existence is what is being mentioned in here, and existence within order, because the things within the heavens and the earth are, as I observe, are being given existence within an order, so that order is being preserved. Like, it's not like he, let's say, talking about an artist, yeah, he started giving very good quality work initially, but later on he didn't kept up with the high quality. He couldn't preserve that. He couldn't continue with that, might be one thing. And all the other one might be, as our materialist perspective is saying, that everything is the enemy of the other. Everybody is fighting against each other in this creation, in this existence, or not creation from that perspective, of course. In this existence, things are fighting with each other. Things are trying to, this is why strongest will survive, only the fittest will survive. But as if he is saying that the creator is saying that I am protecting every single one of my creation. Yeah, I created some very mighty and earth relative to it smaller and not that strong, but I'm going to preserve earth. I'm going to be the one, and I am the one that preserves sun. One is not going to transgress the other, because if you think about it, in a what is it, in a forest, like, big trees are there, small trees are there. The materialist perspective says only the fittest will survive. But is this really the case in this existence? Yeah. Is it only that the mightiest ones survive and the weakest ones die away? Or the weaker ones, which are also the creation of the creator, are surviving and flourishing well? Like babies, how do they flourish? Who is protecting them, for instance? Because ideally, in our eyes, stronger ones are going to kill the babies or the weaker ones. But the creator makes me and my wife, employs us as protectors of Zainab, for example. Otherwise, I mean, she has no chance living this life. But the creator is protecting her. So in a sense, we can also say that there is someone who constantly watches over his creation, and he doesn't allow one to transgress the other, if that makes sense.
That's lovely. Thank you. Yeah, I think I really like the idea of this notion of being protected from non-existence, and I think this goes along with maybe perhaps what Brother Muhammad Said was saying a bit earlier, in that, you know, this his throne extending over the heavens and the earth includes me as well. You know, I am part of that. I am part of the creation. And as you were explaining it, then there becomes a very personal touch, in that my not only my preservation, my existence, protection of that existence, the rizq that I sustenance of that existence, right, is being given or is guaranteed, is secure. And so, and I guess, as it says, وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ, like, you know, this protector, the one who is the most high, the great, is the only one upon whom I can secure my existence in, and secure my feelings and my needs and my wants. So it's yeah, it's a very beautiful reminder of the reality that I hold. Thank you, Jazakallah khair.
وإياكم. So I continue with the verse. Any comments, any suggestions? If not, I will continue with the verse. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم, neither slumber overtakes him nor sleep. And this is again something that I can observe in the creation. So there's no neglect that's happening, because slumbering or sleep taking over would definitely lead to neglect. Like there is a joke, a Turkish joke, a silly Turkish joke, in which there's this guy who has headset on his ears, and suddenly he dies, and they don't know what's happening. Then they realize in his ear, he was listening to a thing which says breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and he was following this command and constantly breathing in and out, and then falling asleep, he just dies, sort of a thing. It's a silly joke. But of course, this, if I were, for example, to be controlling my breathe, and then sleep or slumber takes over me, who was going to take care of that? But in the universe, in the existence, I am seeing that there's a constant control, a perfect order keeps going. It's never being neglected. So this is again another thing that says the one who is in charge of everything is not neglecting even a single second. له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. To him belongs everything in the heavens and everything on earth. له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. Yeah, and this is going to be again supported with this وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. At the very end, his throne extends over the heavens and the earth. So ownership being given to him, and then dominion being ascribed to him, is I think going on with these two verses. And again, another theme that's happening within the verse is heavens and the earth being mentioned together, and the owner of one is being described as being the owner of the other. Which, so I'm thinking, do I separate them? Do I think of actually I tend to do that, don't I? So whenever, for instance, even in its modern version, I am spiritual but not religious, or look at its meaning but not its shape, sort of a thing, as if these verses are saying that look at this book of universe, its meaning and its shape, its material form, if you like, are being governed by the same one, the same creator. So it's the words that are used in the book are so much aligned with the meaning. So for instance, I'm going to give an example from literature, or the literature aspect of Quran. When Yusuf alayhi salam is thrown into the well, Quran uses the word ghayabatil jubbi, and the word that is used for being thrown into the well sounds like somebody is thrown into the well, like jubbi. Although there are other words in Arabic that might have been used in there, so the meaning is, in a sense, making this nice voice in your ear at the same time, like in your physical ear as well. So this would very well say that the owner of the meaning is also the owner of the language. He's not trying to express himself in somebody else's language. For example, if I was to try to express you to myself in English, it's not my mother tongue. So I would use whatever first word comes to my mind that is near the meaning I'm trying to express. But if I was the owner of the language, let's say in this case being mother tongue, although not a perfect example, I would be more comfortable doing that. So as if this verse is saying that lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil ard, whatever is on earth, which is in this case is the in our example, let's say language, and fi samawat, the meaning wise. So he is the owner of both of them. This is why you are going to find a perfect relationship or flow between how things are being expressed through creation and the meaning that they point to, so much aligned with each other. And I guess we are going to see this best in two ways. One is when I read Quran, as Quran reads the universe to me, as Quran opens the doors of heavens to me, like the meaning aspect of this creation is being introduced to me through Quran under the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ, I would say that so beautifully the creator of this universe has already created, in a sense, in the flip side, a perfect meaning of that and explaining it to me perfectly. This is one way. The other way is if I then read inside from within, using now the compass in me, which is called conscience, I will see that the creator of this universe put those, if you like, pointers in me, which one sees a rose, starts getting the feeling from there. I am supposed to get excited and love when I see the rose, or then when I see a lion roaring, I am supposed to and expected to get horrified. This feeling is also something that points to my maker, and I also start feeling it inside. So the maker who creates this surface or the outer aspect of things, which I take in here as ard, and the one who is the creator of the meaning of these things as they point to him, the sama, must be the same, because they are so harmonious, so in line with each other. If no comment, I'm going to the next part. And since we had an extension of 12 minutes and started a little bit late, is it okay if I finish by 8:10? Okay, looks like everybody agrees. من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه? Who is he that can intercede with him except with his permission? So Mirkan touched upon that. من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه. And interestingly, this verse is coming right after 254, in which يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي يوم لا بيع فيه ولا خلة ولا شفاعة. So again, the intercession is in the previous verse. والكافرون هم الظالمون. So it says, "O you who believe, spend from what we have given you as sustenance before a day comes in which there is neither trade nor friendship nor intercession. The disbelievers are the wrongdoers." So this also gives me some notion about where this intercession is fitting into in here. Like as if I rely on things and it's warning me against, before a day comes where you're not going to rely on anyone, do this action, which is أنفقوا مما رزقناكم, spend or give to charity for the use of others for their sustenance from what we have given you as sustenance. As if it's saying that, remember that I am your sustainer, and get into this business of giving to others as for their sustenance, so that you realize you were being sustained. I have been your sustainer from the very beginning, but you have been relying on others. Like wala shafa'a, there's going to be a day where there's not going to be anyone who is going to be your supporter or who is going to take your back. What is the solution to that? The verse is saying that give from what I gave you for your sustenance, because infaq comes from nafaqa. Nafaqa is things that is given to you for your sustenance. So I gave you your sustenance, and now I'm asking you to give portion of what I give you as sustenance to become sustenance of others. so that through this interaction, you will see that this other is being sustained by you, which will then make you realize that you were also being sustained in the first place. So in here, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ reminds us that who is it that you think is sustaining you, providing you, supporting you? I continue. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ. So he knows what is before them and what is behind them. And with this, مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ, I think this might be referring to what is right in front of them, مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ, so what is happening in them, what they have. So as if he knows what you are doing right now, and he knows what you left behind, what you have already did. How can I confirm that? This is an important thing because is the creation just happening and it's going away, or things are being recorded? Because things are being if things are being recorded, then I ask the question, what's going on in here? It looks like it's not joke. Like, think about it. Your professor makes assignments, but he doesn't assign any grades. Are you going to take your next assignment serious? So once I realize things are being recorded, I stop and say, what's going on in here? Something serious is going on in here. And once I realize that, well, even in my memory, things are being recorded. Or when I walk on earth, my foot is leaving a footprint behind. And even now we have the idea of social media footprint. So everywhere we leave marks, which means everything is being recorded. So who is this bookkeeper? This verse is reminding me of the bookkeeper. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُم. And we can, of course, expand this. I'm just very superficially talking about that. But even my life from yesterday to today, as I see that things are going within an order, this would indicate that things are going within a plan. Well, but it's not within my plan. So whose plan is that? Becomes the question. So this is again showing that the one who gives creation this harmony, this order, is aware of what I did in the past and what I am doing right now. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. And they cannot grasp any of his knowledge except as he wills. Anyone wants to make comment about that? وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. Yes, Suhail, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. So what I understand from that, in that he knows what is before them and what is behind them, and they cannot grasp any of his knowledge in that except as he wills. One aspect, or one meaning I take from from innumerable meanings from that part of the verse, is that I'm stuck in this present moment that I exist in, and that's really the manifestation of being. It is. I can't extend to the future nor to the past, as often Dorsey says. And this moment is infinitesimally small. It's the moment it's here is gone. Just as it arrives, it's gone. Like, I can't grasp it. And while I want to know the future, I cannot. And while I want to remember the past or potentially even change it, I cannot. It's always slipping away. My memory is always fading, and I have no memory of the future. Except the only thing I can experience really is the present moment. That's the only portion of his knowledge that I can grasp in the immediate, that I can experience immediately. It's the present moment. And the present moment is really just a manifestation of his will. as the verse earlier says. And the moment he wills is because he must be ever living and everlasting, and with and neither sleep, neither in slumber or sleeping. And because everything in the heavens and earth belongs to him, that is why the moment can be willed into existence. There's no other, there is no other partner in willing it into being. Um, and I can only experience this present moment. And this present moment is really just a manifestation of what he knows, or from his infinite knowledge. And because it is a manifestation, therefore I can know, or in other words, I can know what the experience is. In other words, my experience becomes what I know. And I only know it because he wills it into being. And that's my life. Um, so, I mean, who else can partake in that, really? That's really the conclusion from who else can intercede with him except with his permission. Because I live on such a small plane, an infinitesimally small plane, to the point that you could even say, not that you can say in reality, but do I even exist? Because the moment is so small. So who really has any knowledge or power or will at the end of the day? No one, and nothing else in the heavens and the earth. Because, you know, in some sense, not, I mean, my life is because he's ever living, and my eternity is because he's everlasting. And my existence, or my desire to not go into non-existence, essentially, is because, and that desire essentially comes from the fact that he neither slumbers nor sleeps. Because that he must be eternally existent, so too I desire it, and vice versa. And because I desire it, so too must he not be overtaken by slumber or sleep. So that's some of the thoughts I took away from that part of the verse.
Jazakallah khair. Very, very beautiful point, actually. I just will reiterate what you said, as I understand it, is I cannot grasp Creator's knowledge, but what he wills becomes creation, and this is what enters into my knowledge. I cannot encompass anything from his knowledge. I am only subject to the creation, which is his will. So the things that he wills, which is coming out of knowledge, like it's not randomness. I do not observe some meaningless random things, but I am observing an order which tells that it is a thing that is known, but I only know it through sha, like as he wills, I get to know them. If he doesn't will, I do not know, I wouldn't know. So all my knowledge is subject to him willing to manifest. Jazakallah khair. So وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And this, the word kursi in here became the name for this verse, Ayat al-Kursi. So it's talking about throne. And there's also arsh. What was it? So his arsh is span over Sama. I think there's another verse like that. So these are two throne related verses, dominion or kingdom related verses that Quran uses these two words. And in here again, وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. His throne extends over the heavens and the earth. And Birkan has touched upon this. So it is like his dominion, his ruling is over Sama, which I tend to understand as the meaning or divine names, the meaning aspect of things. And well, the aspect of things that we observe. وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. We talked about that. So their preservation does not burden him, or their upholding does not burden him. وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. And the author says this last part, is tying. So I'm now going to read this part and conclude, inshallah. Yeah, thus together with proving with 10 phrases in Ayat al-Kursi, 10 levels of divine unity in varying hues in different colors, with the phrase, who is there that can intercede in his presence except as he permits, it rejects utterly and vehemently the associating of partners with God and interference of others and casts them away. Also, since this verse manifests the greatest name, its meanings related to the divine truths are at a maximum degree, so that it demonstrates the dominical acts of disposal at a maximum level. It demonstrates the dominical acts of disposal at a maximum level. Furthermore, after mentioning the divine regulations of all the heavens and the earth, and the preservation encompassing all things at the maximum degree, a tie of unity and aspect of unity summarize the sources of those maximum manifestations with the phrase, for he is the most high, the supreme. As if it is concluding and tying all those multiple aspects of Tawheed into a single conclusion again. Because Tawheed, you think, well, Tawheed is one, so how do you talk about multiple Tawheeds? So from different angles, Tawheed was mentioned at utmost degree, and then all of them are tied up by saying that وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. This is, in a nutshell, Tawheed. So with that, inshallah, let's conclude today's discussion. Any comments before we close? Inshallah, we can continue with the next verse in the sixth quality of eloquence next week. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر